Before we get started with this video, I just wanted to say this video is brought to you by Prize Picks, the simplest form of fantasy sports betting right now. You pick 2 to 5 players and can win up to 10 times on any entry. It allows multi-sports, so you can do Mahomes over on fantasy points and an under on LeBron James. If you sign up using the code ALLSPORTS, you'll receive an instant deposit match of up to $100. Check it out in the App Store or web browser. Prize Picks. Use code ALLSPORTS for up to $100 deposit match.
But Carson Wentz is now an Indianapolis Colt. I've been saying that this should happen for a long time now, and I'm glad it happened. I'm still kind of on the Carson Wentz believer train. If you haven't listened to anything on this podcast, I've obviously been saying I think Carson Wentz can still be a starter in this league. And I did think he was the better option over Jalen Hurts. But Philadelphia, obviously, what happened last year, they went in the other direction. As of now, I think they're keeping Hurts, but who knows if they're going to draft the quarterback with the 6th pick, if they're going to do something else. But as of now, Jalen Hurts is the guy. But Sam, I think you have the trade details up. So if you kind of want to tell everyone what exactly was going on with the trade, go ahead.
All right. So the Eagles traded Carson Wentz to the Colts in exchange for a 2021 third-round pick and a conditional 2022 second that can turn into a first-round pick. In order for it to turn from a second-round pick into a first-round pick, in the 2021 season, Wentz has to play at least 75% of snaps, or he has to play at least 70% of snaps, and the Colts make the playoffs. So essentially, it'll probably be a first-round pick, likely. Would you assume so?
Oh, yeah.
Okay. But obviously, that's for the fact that Wentz has had injury issues in his career. But I think there's only been 1 year in his career that he hasn't played 70% of snaps. I think that was in 2018 when he had the back injury.
We'll go with it.
I think it was that year. But so he should make it based on like previous history. But I guess I'll start with my initial takeaway from this trade. I like it for both sides. And I know a lot of people are saying that the Colts fleeced. And I don't understand how people are saying that now when for the entire narrative for the past month and a half has been Carson Wentz is a train wreck. What a joke. You're not going to get anything out of him. And then obviously you're hearing that the Bears are offering a first-round pick and the Colts are offering a first-round pick. And everyone's like, oh, so he's returning value. And now apparently people think this is a good trade, like in that mindset, I guess. Even though initially I thought they weren't going to get any value for him. I thought they were going to trade him with a pick to get rid of his contract, because he had that much of a train wreck of a year. But I think as of right now, the Eagles are the ones that are on the better side of the deal because they are getting a lot more short-term benefit because they just completely soured that situation with Wentz. But for the Colts, this is just a very, how can I say this? It's like the best situation for high risk, low reward. Is that a weird way of putting it?
Do you mean high reward, low risk?
No, high risk, low reward. Because if they're trading a 3rd and a 2, okay, if you don't think by like week 9, they'll know that Wentz isn't their guy. Do you think they'll know?
Yeah, I mean, if anything, it's earlier.
And then they pull him for Eason. That's what you do.
My boy, Jacob.
And you traded 2 2s or 2 day 2 picks, whatever. Just bite the bullet, move on. And I think it's a good risk to take. And a lot of people are misunderstanding that, oh, they're taking on Wentz's contract and all that. No, they're paying him like 20 mil per year for the next 3 years. And if he's playing at the level that he was playing for the past couple of years before this season, you definitely take that, especially in this quarterback market. You 100% take that. So I like this deal for both sides. Obviously, as of right now, I think the Eagles are the winners. I hate doing winners, losers as of right now because we don't know how this how these are going to pan out. But the Eagles got a lot more short-term benefit. But obviously, Carson Wentz is going back to Frank Reich, who he had his most success with in his MVP caliber season. So maybe he can turn him around.
Yeah, I'll say this. I think Carson Wentz, I've been saying it for a long time now, is still capable of being a good quarterback in this league. Look solely at last year, and obviously it wasn't good, but you look at everything he's done before that, and I've said this multiple times now, continue expressing it. He was arguably one of the best quarterbacks in the league from like a top 7 or 8 standpoint. He was very good. And then obviously the 2017 year, I think it was, he was 11-2 and was going to win MVP if it wasn't for the injuries. So he has that upside, and he's been fantastic in this league. And I think people are focusing too much on what happened last year. And by no means am I saying that it wasn't terrible, because it was, but I'm not going to allow 1 year to solely dictate what I think about this guy overall. I think that he can still be good. And look, we are the number one bashers of Phil Rivers on this podcast, as we should be. He has no zing, and he led this Colts team to the playoffs, and it was a very good team for them. What was it? 11-5 they went. 11-5 they went. If Carson Wentz can't make the playoffs, that's all I'm setting for him. He just has to make the playoffs. If he can't even get to that, there's a huge issue, because I would hope to think that Carson Wentz is a much better solution than Phil Rivers is. Obviously, Phil Rivers, we saw what he was this year, and it wasn't good. And, even though they did make the playoffs, I'm expecting more from Carson Wentz. Like you said, Carson Wentz, I think it's a good trade for both sides, because I'll say this. For the Indianapolis Colts, I was just praising it. I think Carson Wentz is still very good. And if you can get what you got from him out of 2017 and other years, it's the best kind of move they could do from a quarterback perspective standpoint. And I think that it could work out very well for them. As for the Philadelphia Eagles, obviously, if they had their mind set up that Carson Wentz was not going to be their guy, which obviously what we saw today and what we've seen from the rumors in the past couple of weeks, it was evident and it was known that that was the case. If I'm trying to think of what I was going to say. I just think that from the Colts perspective, you're getting that guy back. And then for the Eagles, you're giving up this guy that was a train wreck of a guy last year. And if it was apparent that he wasn't your guy, you trade him to the Indianapolis Colts, and you're getting a second and a third back. And like you said, Sam, that second can be a 1. So I think, Adam Schefter said this really well. He was on SportsCenter earlier today. He said it works out fine for both sides, because here's the deal. Let's say Carson Wentz, and this is my prediction, he's going to play the 75% of snaps that he needs to play. And I think he's going to be a good quarterback next year. He has all the tools to be a good quarterback. I mean, what we've seen in Philadelphia in years past, obviously we criticize the weapons, and I would think that Indianapolis has more of weapons than Philadelphia did. And then obviously, like we've talked about with Frank Wright, it should work out on the offensive line and the defense. There's multiple reasons why this should work out for Carson Wentz. If it doesn't work out, then that's a problem. But like I said, if he plays at 75% of snaps, they're happy with it, and he leads them to the playoffs. So let's say the Colts are obviously happy with that. As for the Eagles, if that's the case, they get a 1 back, and hopefully their guy and Jalen Hurts or whoever they want it to be works out as well. They get the 1 and they get the 3, and they're happy that they don't have to deal with this guy that was an absolute train wreck last year. So, my opinion, it works out very well for both sides. I can understand why. As for the Eagles, they're in a little bit of a situation from a dead cap perspective, and who knows what's going to happen with them next year. As a Washington fan, I like to see them suffer, so I will hoping that it all goes downhill for them. But like I've been saying, I think it's fine for both sides.
Oh, well, no, they're dead. The dead cap hit. I mean, they saved money doing this trade. They saved $1 million. It's just they're paying $34 million for no one on that team.
Right.
That's the thing. A lot of people misunderstand how dead cap works and think it charges $34 million and doesn't save money. It's the other way around. But to get back to the trade, look, so Carson Wentz has no excuses now. I mean, he was horrible last year. He was the worst. He was the least accurate quarterback in the league last year from a clean pocket. So he's got a ton of accuracy issues. He always has. He turns the ball over at an unreal clip last year. I mean, just everything you could think about being a bad quarterback, he did it last year. He was just horrible. But I especially was the leader of the campaign to fire Doug Peterson. And I stand by Doug Peterson was a big factor in ruining Carson Wentz. But I also stand by the fact that Howie Roseman's way of constructing this roster was a big reason as to why Carson Wentz failed last year. The whole roster was old as shit. They failed at drafting offensive line depth. They couldn't get him any weapons, and it just was not working out. And he got sick of it, and I kind of don't like the feeling that he just kind of quit right after the first year that it went tough. But this is a complete and utter failure from an organizational standpoint from the Eagles. I know they won a Super Bowl because of him. He was half the reason they won the Super Bowl. Let's be honest.
As for me, I still think if he starts, he wins the Super Bowl as the year goes
probably.
on. Obviously, it's unpredictable.
We will never know. We will never know. And I don't want to like put an absolute out there that we don't know if it's actually going to happen. Maybe they lose to who they play, Atlanta in the playoffs. Maybe they lose to them. I don't know. Maybe they lose to Minnesota, even though they stomped them. But matter of fact is the Eagles, you traded. What did they all trade? Let me look this up. They traded. All right. The Eagles traded 8th overall, a 2016 third round pick, a 2016 fourth round pick, a 2017 first round pick. That was the first round pick that became Deshaun Watson, by the way. 2018 second round pick for number 2 overall in order to trade up to get Carson Wentz. And I also think, didn't they trade up to number 8? Didn't they do that?
I have no idea. Wouldn't shock me, though.
Or they traded up twice in that offseason.
Maybe one of the listeners can let us know.
I'm pretty sure they traded up twice in that offseason they went to number 8, and then right before the draft, I remember they went up to number 2 to take Wentz. But they invested a lot into Carson Wentz in order to trade up to get him. And obviously it worked out because they got a Super Bowl out of him, kind of. But they completely just dismantled his confidence. They dismantled this entire team. And the Eagles are going to suck balls next year. They're going to be an atrocious team. I mean, they're going to have to dismantle the entire roster because of their cap situation where I think they're like negative 50 right now. Negative 50 million over the cap right now. So I like the return they got. I'm surprised they actually got what potentially could be a first round pick for him. But like I said, he's got no excuses with the Colts. I mean, the Colts have everything he needs. He's got his coordinator back where he succeeded in with. I know he's got 2 of his past coaches from the Eagles that he wasn't so great with in 18 and 19. Those were going to be the replacements for Reich. But I mean, Colts have a ton of money. They can spend on wide receiver, tackle, do whatever they can to make Carson succeed. I think they're going to do that. And if he doesn't work out, you cut his ass because you can afford to do it. And if he works out, you're paying a starting level quarterback, almost top 10 level, because we've seen Carson Wentz could be a damn good quarterback. We've seen it. This isn't a pick that just didn't work out like a Paxton Lynch. This worked. It's just it can work.
It's like annoying to me also because like when you're seeing those like people rate like the first round picks out of like however many years ago or like just something like that, and they'll like qualify Carson Wentz as a bust. I'm like, you obviously have not been paying attention to the past 4 or 5 years, whatever it is that he's been in the league. It just annoys me because I've said this 7 times now, but it's like, everyone focuses solely on last year. And I'm not saying you shouldn't, because last year was a huge indicator that it can go wrong for him. But at the same time, I would rather look at what I've seen from him in the past and kind of take that into account than just one singular year and call him a bust.
Yeah, he carried that 2019 Eagles team to the playoffs.
Yeah.
Now I know the NFC sucked that year, just like it did this year, but I do want to ask you, So I feel like we're both on the same page on this trade.
Yeah.
With we still believe Wentz can do good, and the Eagles are just a joke. But how do you feel about Jalen Hurts? Do you think he's going to be the Eagles starter in 2021, or do you think they're going to go for a guy in this draft? Whether they trade up with Miami, they stay at 6 and take like a Trey Lance. That'd be hilarious if they took a North Dakota State guy
Yeah.
after a North Dakota State guy. But what do you think is going to happen with that?
As of now, I do think it's going to be Jalen Hurts. I've been saying this. I think Jalen Hurts sometimes gets a bad rap from people. I don't think he is incredible by any means, but kind of the small sample size that I saw from him last year in his rookie year, it wasn't terrible by any means. Obviously, it was better than Carson Wentz, but at the same time, how hard was that to do? But I think that if you're going into next year, who knows kind of what the direction is for Philadelphia? Like you said, they're in a huge cap situation and they're going to be really bad next year. So it's almost like if you kind of know that's the expectation, you have a guy like Jalen Hurts who could be the future of your team. Why not kind of just see what he can do in a year two set type of situation, see if he has that sophomore jump. But I wouldn't be surprised at the same time if we're getting closer to draft night, if the rumors start amounting that are interested in taking a quarterback. The problem is though, if you're wanting a guy, obviously, like you said, Trey Lance is 6, seems like that could be a case. But if you want a guy like the top 3, Zach Wilson, Trevor Lawrence, obviously Trevor Lawrence, he's going to Jacksonville, but at the same time.
Whoa, Kirk, are you one of those teams who has Zach Wilson as QB1?
I don't.
You listed him first. I don't know, man.
I'm on the Zach Wilson QB1 train. No, I'm kidding. And then Justin Fields. The problem is all 3 of them, you don't know if it's going to drop to 6. And are you happy with taking Trey Lance with the 6th overall pick? So maybe a trade up is kind of the situation. Who knows? But as of right now, as of today, I believe that Jalen Hurts will be the starter for them next year. And I really don't think it's that bad of an option. Like I said, the small sample size we saw from last year wasn't horrible by any means. I don't think he was incredible, but it's one of the situations where let's just see how he does next year. We're not expecting a lot out of this team. And like we've kind of been referring to, if he's terrible, you kind of make the decision there. But if he's great, you have your QB for the future.
I don't know. As it stands right now, I feel like they're going to. I think they're going to go and trade up for a quarterback because I talked about this on this pod a few months ago when like this Wentz Hurts situation was going on. Like Jalen Hurts, he only truly had like one really good game. It was the Cardinals game. Every other game, he was kind of he wasn't that great. And I mean, he flashed in some moments, but he wasn't truly that really that good. He relied a lot on his legs and tried playing a lot out of structure. When he was playing in structure, he just wasn't that great. And I don't know. Jalen Hurts, maybe he could be that guy. I don't think Howie Roseman, who likely is now on the hot seat as the general manager in Philadelphia, because I think everyone in Philadelphia is on the hot seat right now, even Nick Sirianni, because they just hired him to fire him in 2 years. That's just kind of the feeling I have with him right now. I mean, why would anyone take that job? But like, I don't think he's going to bank his job on a quarterback in Jalen Hurts. I just don't think he's going to do it. I think he's going to go balls to the wall. Let's hit on a prospect. And Philly seems to not be afraid to take multiple shots at a quarterback at once. I mean, they just took Jalen Hurts last year, and everyone was like, why the hell are you taking Jalen Hurts? Now it looks kind of smart, but not really after the season Wentz had. But I don't know. I think they're going to I think they're going to try and take a quarterback. I think they will be in the market for trading up. And that would really shake up the draft if they did, because like, imagine if Philly traded up to 3 with Miami and like top 3 picks are the top 3 quarterbacks. What happens with Carolina? Like, what do they do? Are they the Trey Lance team to move up? Or does Atlanta take Trey Lance at 4? You know, Atlanta could be a quarterback.
1, 2, 3, 4, all quarterbacks.
That would be weird. That would feel really weird. But I mean, Carolina's been all over the rumor mill right now saying we want a quarterback bad, and they've been the Deshaun Watson team.
Yeah.
I mean, hell, that'd be fun.